Cut that off.
Now we're live.
All right, we're live. Barely live. Barely alive. Welcome to Sensible Prepper School Volume 20. And today we're going to talk about light. Flashlights mainly, but we are going to talk a little bit about some other lights. We really appreciate Robbie Wheaton for being here. He owns WheatonArms.com. Does great aftermarket Glock parts. Their flat face trigger is the best on the market. And he also does custom gun work. Been a gunsmith for over 20 years.
Yes, sir.
And he has a great YouTube channel. Check it out. We have a link down below in the description. Wheaton Arms. It's also, you can find it under Robbie Wheaton.
That's right. Easy to find.
And so it takes a whole different look at gun reviews. I love what you're doing over there.
I tell you, we're working on the Smith & Wesson CSX right now and finishing that up. So I've got some pretty interesting insights with that one that, especially with the trigger and the trigger mechanism and everything. So some pretty interesting insights coming up on that one in the next few days.
Right. Good. Very good. So we appreciate Sarah Mack. She's over here answering questions. If you have questions, especially about light, it's not limited to, but, we kind of like to focus as much on light. And then we also appreciate Sportsman's Guide for being our sponsor today. And you get a $20 off every $100 or more purchase using Sootch, just SOOTCH, no 00. And they are great to deal with.
Yes, sir. And check out their Buyers Club as well. Their Buyers Club is going to get you additional savings as well as free shipping on anything over $49.
And that's the end of our shameless. No, it's not. It's not the end of our shameless.
That's just the beginning
plug.
of our shameless capitalist plug.
Now, one thing I do want to mention is today, we're going to talk about general lights. We're not really going to talk about these are the top 10 lights you need to buy and the brand and all that. Now, we are using mainly Olight because that's what I like. That's what I use. There is a link down below to get 10% off those lights if you want to check out Olight. But we're going to be talking about types of light today. And there are different lights. Lights come in all shapes, all sizes, power. I mean, there's a lot of different things. Some have a tight beam, some have a broad beam, and there are different uses for those lights. But light is your number one security tool. You're going to use light more than anything else to deter any kind of trouble. And in fact, flashlights are used more than any other tool for self-defense. And so I think that light, definitely, we understand that you need light. And the older you get, the more you need light.
Boy, ain't that the truth.
And, there's a lot of traditional lights out there. I mean, just like this little crook neck military surplus. I mean, the military used these for years. Has the incandescent bulb. It puts out a low lumen setting, but, they were used effectively. We also have things like this little generator light. I think this is actually Russian. So if you're Ukrainian, you might not like this. But anyway, this little handheld.
Might be plenty of them laying around right now.
Yeah. This is old. I've had this thing for probably close to 30 years. But this is a little light for, if you need a light and you don't have a battery, it's a great option. And there are a ton of different lights out there. I mean, just cheap lights. But one thing, again, is light is your number one security tool. So I really highly recommend buying good quality lights. And then with the LEDs that they've come out with, I mean, in fact, I did a video a while back and I didn't bring out any mag lights. Little mag light, used those for years. They used to be the catch me out.
Light. That was the light.
There's
Absolutely.
Big ones with the four triple, D-cell batteries.
Mm-hmm.
The police would use those and use them as a baton because they could pop somebody. So there's a lot of different lights. And if you don't think about light, you could find yourself needing a lot of light and not having it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to break it down into 10 top categories. And so I really just recommend that, some of these you can interchange. Some of them you can definitely, use for multiple purposes. And some of these lights can get pretty expensive when you get up to the big security lights. But man, the performance of those lights are awesome. So first thing we're going to talk about is your standard EDC light. Little, small, tiny lights. Carry in your pocket. They're handy. They're lightweight. They don't put out a whole lot of lumens, but they're really handy. And so, like this little i3R Plus, this little guy, I mean, it puts out low lumens and then it puts out some high lumens. And it's really thin, fits in your pocket. We have one of the little small pen lights just to slip in your pocket, all the way down to a keychain light.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I keep these on my keychain.
Yep. Well, how many times you come home at night, and you forgot to turn the porch light on.
Right.
And you're sitting there poking at the lock, trying to find the key. And you're like, I wish I had a light in my pocket. There you go. Taken care of.
That's right.
Problem
And that's what I
solved.
use this for.
Yep. Oh, yes.
Mostly. I keep it on my key ring. It's tiny.
And, you know, that's why I brought that up, because just about everybody in the world that has ever tried to unlock a lock at night outside, standing there poking at the lock, they understand the significance and the importance of a little light like that.
Yeah. Last night, I went over to my dad's. I had to take some medication for him, and I dropped over there, and he had gotten his keys all over the place.
Oh, wow.
And he couldn't figure out which ones were which. Oh, it was the biggest mess. And thank goodness I had this little light. Now, I took it off my key ring to let you see it, but had this little small light. It's rechargeable. I mean, these are great. And that's another thing about light. Yeah, you blinded everybody. But, you know, you can get rechargeable batteries for these, which is definitely a huge plus.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of rechargeable batteries and rechargeable lights.
Yeah, yeah. But, you know, also we keep a lot of just standard AA's around because, you know, if for some reason we can't charge those lights, we have those AA's, AAA's, those kind of lights. And then we have, you know, just a little small. I mean, there's a ton of these little small lights. For years, I carried the S1R Baton, little tiny light, puts out 1,000 lumens. So you can get a really small package and put out a lot of light. And it's real comfortable to carry, easy to carry.
Yep, that's the one I'm carrying today.
That's right. Well, I mean, you know, they're just excellent little lights.
I forgot to charge my bigger one, and I used it last night. The battery was dead in it, and then I forgot to charge it last night, so I had to grab the little guy today. So,
well, you know, that's one thing cool. And I am going to put a plug in for Olight right here just for a second, because they have the best charging system out there. I mean, they have a magnetic pad. You put it in, you throw it into any USB, and it charges. And so that's one of the things I do love about those type lights. But there's a lot of batteries. You know, you can plug them into the battery. You can do different setups. So those are your standard little EDC lights. What I do is I carry these around like when I'm just around the house. If I'm going over to my shop or I'm doing something, and then I'll just keep this in my pocket, fits right in there, has a little clip, and it just sits in there. It's real easy to bring out. Now, and again, there are a number of different companies that make these. So, you know, you can take your choice, pick them out. But
yeah, the Olight, Streamlight makes them. They make one that's pretty similar to that, you know, a little small pocket light.
Right.
They work great. But yeah, it's a handy little light to have around.
Yeah, I mean, these little pin lights. Now, if I'm going somewhere or if it's at night, I like to up my EDC a little bit. And so the next segment is your small little handheld lights. They're small, but yet they're larger than the little ones, but you have a defensive capability on it. I've got a crenulated bezel right here. It sticks past my hand. And so I'm able to use this for a self-defense situation.
And you know, that right there is without question my favorite light in the entire world. That thing, it looks like it's been sandblasted. My keys and change in my pocket, just rubbing up against it all the time. I mean, I almost feel naked without that one.
Oh yeah,
you know, because I carry it so much that, you know, it's like my EDC, my pistol. You know, I've got a pistol on me all day, every day, and me not having my big flashlight with me, it just feels like I left my pistol at home. I left my wallet at home. You know, that sinking feeling that you get when you walk out of the house and you're like, what have I forgot? Where's my wallet? Yeah, that's the feeling that I had this morning when I got up and had to go with my little light instead of my big one, because I'm so used to carrying that one.
Well, this one's scratched up pretty good. I have another one that's really scratched up because we did a bunch of tests on them. We tested them. We ran over it with a Hummer. We beat it. We threw it. You know, we do all that stuff to them. They just hold up, these little high quality lights. Now, this is actually the Warrior Mini, which is hilarious because these are under recall right now. And I'm not sending mine back because I lock it out and it doesn't come on. The problem is it'll come on in your pocket. So, but this is one of my very favorite lights, period. Now, we do have a little bit of a larger light, and this makes it really good. And one thing I like about these type lights is they have a rear tail switch. Rear tail switch, you can get right to it. You're not fumbling around, and it does have a side switch, but you're not fumbling around with a side switch. You can go straight to your light immediately. And so this, again, you got a little bit of extra, and yet it still fits in your pocket fine.
Yep.
You know, you can wear it all day, but it has a clip. You can actually put it on the bill of your cap. I mean, there's a number of things you can do with these, and there's a ton of different ones again out there. You know, there's just a lot of different lights that this one does not have the tail switch on the back. It does have the pressure pad. I mean, I like that on the back though for that particular light. And so that's number two. So you got your really small pin lights. You got your larger lights that you can use. They are a little more weighty. They are a little bit larger, but you have defensive capability. And one thing too, and there's a lot of people from Europe and Asia and all over the world, they can't necessarily carry a firearm for self-defense. And so this is one option that you can carry about anywhere.
Yep.
You can go through a metal detector, you can do whatever, you can have your light and they'll give it back to you. And then you have some means of self-defense where you may have to take your knife and leave it. You can carry your light.
Light in a defensive situation allows you to create distance and separation.
Right.
So you can temporarily blind somebody, which is going to give you the opportunity to create some space in between yourself and that person that's trying to attack you.
Right.
So which can give you the opportunity to actually be able to escape and get away.
Right.
Or get out of that situation quickly.
Or at least immobilize them enough to get in a good sucker punch.
That too.
But, and this has strobe features. Strobe features are great, especially for exactly what Robbie was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number 2, your EDC, the typical lights you carry. Then it moves up into a tactical light. Now, there's some different lights. This can be used somewhat as a tactical light. You can use this for different things. It does give out quite a bit of light. But if you want to really have some high performance, there are some lights out there that really give you that. This is the Warrior X. What I love about this, and this is a light. We keep a couple of these right next to our door on a little shelf. And whenever we go out with the dogs, this is the light we carry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. They put this ring on there.
Yeah.
And I thought, what's that? That's a big old bulky ring. This thing is awesome. You have a leash in your hand. You're walking around with the dogs. This allows you to just take it and you can move it out of the way and you can use your hands, bring it back. It's also an impact weapon. And it gives you a lot of capability for self-defense.
Yeah, I was just sitting over here playing with this one. And like you were saying, with the impact weapon, you slide it on your first finger, you got a really great little impact weapon.
Yeah, that's a punch.
It is. Yes,
and then
it
without
is.
it even, it has the little tactical ring. And again, guys, there's a ton of different options. These are just the samples we have.
And the nice thing is, the ring, it looks huge until you put your finger in it.
Yeah.
But it even fits big hands.
Right.
So it's definitely large enough that it's not. I'm not going to say it fits all sizes, but it fits.
Yeah, there's some guys with the sausage fingers.
That's right.
That fit it. And then, of course, you've got. But the one thing I love about this light is that it gets a lot of distance and it puts out a lot of light. It's not really a broad beam, even though it does give out some spill. It kind of has that really intense long range beam. You could actually use this on a weapons light for a rifle. And there are mounts to go with these. Most of these have them. And that's really the advantage of having that long beam.
That's right.
So
especially for a rifle.
Yeah.
With the little EDC lights, the little pocket lights over there, those work great for short range stuff, but really about 20 or 25 yards and the light just starts to wash out. It doesn't have that really tight concentrated beam, but it gives you a big broad spill of light to, if you're walking around in the dark or whatever, it works really well for that, but it doesn't have that tight concentrated beam like you get with some of these lights.
Well, and this Warrior X Turbo, this thing has a great reflector. It will go, I think it's 600 meters.
That's insane.
Yeah, it is. And it's a very intense beam. So it just goes out. And again, there's a lot of different choices, but this makes a great hunting light if you're using regular light.
Yep.
And again, you can mount this. Yes, it's kind of large, but you've got to, sacrifice sometimes for really great performance, a little bit of a different light. This does have a pocket clip, but that would be a nightmare to carry. But you can get sheaths. In fact, I've got a sheath. Some guys will stick these type lights, especially in a small little sheath. They'll put it in there. They can carry it on their belt. It's really easy to get to. And most of these flashlight companies make these little sheaths. They come with it.
I was going to say, if you're carrying this one with the pocket clip there, it's outside the pocket, not inside the pocket.
Yeah, that big old head on it. But it's got a crenulated bezel. You can use this for a self-defense tool. When you're out by yourself, you're out walking the dog, some crazy nuts out there, it gives you a way to be able to defend yourself, especially if you're in an urban situation.
That's right.
For me, we're carrying, when we go out anyway, but we need to be able to see also, and even if we have a firearm. And so these tactical lights give you a lot of options. Really, if I was going to have for my loadout gear, I would have something like this because I'd want that extra light. Again, EDC, this is going to be okay. This actually go out to about 100 meters. But again, like Robbie said, it's a little more diffused and you don't get the detail. With this, you get a lot of detail. I'm going to tell you guys, dark of night, you walk out and we have about a 200-yard shot out to my range. I can turn this on. I can see the rubber dummy. I can see the steel, everything just bright. So if anybody's messing around on your property, these are great to be able to pull out. Now, the one thing about this is it is an intense solid beam. And so you're going to get a little bit of spill, but you're not going to be able to see a general area. And that's where our next light comes in. We have these. These are really large, big lights. They put out a massive amount of lumens. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And in fact, this is one of the older Seekers, but I'm telling you, man, Robbie's blind. He's gonna be snow blind. Yeah, this is the X7, and then we have this is the X7R, which is rechargeable. But these lights put out a huge, broad light. In fact, we've got a really large field. I know a lot of you guys, if you watched our flashlight reviews, I can turn that on and it lights up everything. Mm-hmm. Now, what I really like about this is, let's say we have somebody in the driveway. We have a driveway alarm. It goes off. So I can take this light and I can shine it, and it just illuminates the entire driveway. And it goes up to about 150, 200 feet. So that way I can get a lot of light down there. And again, light is a huge deterrent. You don't necessarily have to pull out your firearm. I mean, you put a light on them, people are going to get out of the way. They're like, okay.
Especially that thing.
I've been caught.
It's like turning the sun on.
Yeah, you're talking about the sun. Yeah. This is the sun. Now, one thing I want to talk about these larger, high lumen, high performance lights is the price is high. I mean, these are expensive because they put out a lot of lumens. There's a lot of technology. There's a lot of development that goes into these lights, and so they're not cheap. So you got to look at that as well. I mean, where do you want to put your money? I mean, honestly, I would never have thought about buying something like this 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I would have been like, that's ridiculous. I'm not paying.
10 years ago, you still had your mag light.
I did. I still got it. But these, I mean, it's amazing when you use a light like this.
Yeah.
And we've had, sometimes my son's friends would come over or whatever, and they'd come down the driveway and I'd turn this on and they're like, oh my gosh, that thing would go boom. It just blows everything out. So while these are fairly expensive, to me, honestly, these are a great investment if you want to bump it up. If you don't really want to put the money into something like this, I mean, these are about, I don't even know the price on this. We've had this one for years. I mean, we've had this one for about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, that's the one you weapon mount on the Mod Dukes.
And the battery's dead. But normally we keep this
goodness.
one. Actually, we have another one that we use for it. I think this one was just sitting there. But these lights are fantastic, big lights. If you get those standard lanterns, how you used to use those lanterns with a battery on it. Number one, they're super heavy. Number two, they don't give out. I mean, this puts out more lumens than that lantern. And so, honestly, this puts out more lumens than that lantern. And so upgrading your lights, again, we just have these samples out, but we're not just talking about Olight. There's a lot of great companies out there that put out some really good lights. Okay, we're going to start heading into some questions. We'll just see if we have some, we'll go ahead and get started, and then we'll come back. But, I mean, the sky's the limit, guys. But again, you don't want to get the really cheap lights. Get lights that have good quality to them.
Joey asks, big fan of Olights and have several. Do they make a multi-battery type light?
Well, like one light, like your standard, like this one. This one has an 18650, but I can put the CR123s in there. I can put a couple of those, and I can use that. Or I can put some rechargeable CR123s in here. But as far as going from AAA to AA and, no, I don't know of any that actually do that. I mean, I'm sure that there are lights out there that do. But typically when you get a light like that, you get less performance overall. In fact, if you take this 18650, which is a rechargeable battery, it really mimics 2 of your CR123s, but this gives a lot more power. There's a lot more volts. There's a lot more milliamps in it. And so it's just going to perform better. When you put the CR123s in here, it doesn't get quite the performance. Still gives you a great light. Still gives you a lot of light. And 2, one thing I like about CR123s is I can stock those up. They last for 10 years when you store them. So I like to have backup lights like that. The rechargeable, great. But if this light goes out and I don't have my charger, or I don't have USB or whatever, I can pop in those CR123s. have a buddy of mine that's a police officer, and he said he'll carry 3 or 4 lights with him, and he said every time he'll pull them out and it won't work, and you have to get another one, and then it's just funny.
Nicholas Moss asks, can you please include a list of all these lights in the comments section afterwards? And then someone else actually mentioned too. Linda Carter says, can you provide links to these flashlights?
Yes, I'll put all the names down. I do have a link to the website, and it is an affiliate link because we do a lot with Olight, but you can click on it and get 10% off using Sootch 00, clicking that link. So, but yeah, I'll go through and I'll just put a list of a lot of these lights that we're using.
Radio WRNE 342 says, I got a question. Thoughts on carrying a mini mag light 2AA, my carry. In my experience, all the new LEDs don't last more than a few years, whereas a mini mag can be fixed on the spot as it's not a circuit board.
Yeah, it's funny because I did a video talking about altering mag lights. There are a ton of different upgrades you can do. I mean, and they're aftermarket upgrades as well. A lot of these were incandescent when they first came out, but a lot of them now are LED. But you can do, in fact, I should put that link somewhere. Maybe once we get this going, I'll put an annotation to that video. It just shows you a lot of different modifications you can do. So I love the little mag lights, but I'm just going to be honest. The performance is very low and, they're great. They're very handy. They're very simple. So, it's one of those things you trade off. If you want constant light and you want to make sure, but I will say here, I have this is an S2 Baton. This light's been out for about 8 years. And I'm going to tell you guys, I mean, these lights for me, they just keep working. I mean, they just work for a long time. I've got a bunch of them that are just older lights.
What's the thing? I haven't had any of my Olights quit working on me. Any of my OLED lights quit working. And, I drop them in the floor, on the concrete floor in the shop all the time, bounce them across the floor. And I'm like, oh, well, there it went. I just killed that one. And I pick it up, boom, it still works. And I'm like, yes.
Well, I'm going to tell you, because we do a lot of testing. We'll put them in the pool. We'll drop them way down in the pool, keep them in there. We'll throw them up about 30 feet in the air, hit concrete over and over and over. We beat them on post. And then we run over it with the Hummer. And I'm going to tell you, I have never had one to fail. Now, do Olights fail? Yes, they fail. They're electronic. They fail. A lot of people, in fact, I got a buddy of mine right now. He's got to send one back. I mean, and I don't care what company you deal with. I've sent Surefires back. I mean, I've sent 2 Surefires back, and, but it doesn't take my confidence away for Surefire. There's some great lights. In fact, I have some Surefires here on the counter. But you can have lights to fail. But honestly, overall, LED lights, I mean, a 50 hour. Yeah. And then your batteries, you recharge them over and over and over. You should be in good shape. But I do understand having the simplicity of the mag light.
Bob Jones asks, what's the best US made?
Surefire typically is your best US made. A lot of people say Streamlight, but Streamlight makes most of their budget lights in China. They do make lights here in the US. Maglite makes their lights here in the US. I think maybe they've started doing some production in, importing, but, there are some. Surefire to me is like one of the top of the food chain. I mean, there's some really good tactical lights like a Mod Light and some of those lights that are more toward weapon type lights that are great lights. But as far as your standard, just kind of benchmark, I mean, Surefire is a great light. I will say this because I've done the testing. Compare it to the same size as an Olight. Olight will outperform it. It just will. But the confidence, military, police, everything else with Surefire, and I've got a number of them. I love them. And a lot of times you'll see designed in the U.S. That just means it's made overseas.
David Glazner says you can sharpen the crenulated bezel on a small flashlight with a file. Mine is almost as sharp as a knife blade. Great defensive tool.
Yeah, that is a great defensive tool. A lot of these lights, in fact, a lot of these Olights, or in Colaris and some of these others, you could actually take the bezel off, and they have aftermarket bezels or bezels they offer that are more aggressive tactical bezels. And I have some that are like long tines on there. I mean, it's now I hadn't sharpened it, but I might. That sounds like that hurts.
I would end up poking myself with it.
Tucker Smallwood asked, question, I'm moving into an apartment next month. What are some sources of light other than glow sticks that I can use to light up the place in case of a power outage?
Well, like some small lanterns. I mean, this is a little rechargeable lantern. This is an Olight, but they do make some different light sources like that. I would highly recommend that. One thing that I'm getting ready to do a review on is called the BioLight, and it has a small little station. You can put a little solar panel up outside on your porch or whatever. If you're in an apartment, you have a little balcony, you can put it out there, and it has a daisy chain where you can have lights. It's one of the coolest sources I've seen. Yeah. In fact, I was going to bring it, but I haven't opened the box yet because I really want to do a lot of testing with it first. But those are being put out. That's one of the best things. It's BioLight. And you can get that at Sportsman's Guide. That's where I bought it. I got on there and found it, and I was like, oh, that's cool. So I just ordered it. But you can get you $20 off using Sootch. But yeah, those are a great way, all your different lanterns. Of course, the one thing about an apartment is you don't want a lantern that uses fuel. Mm-hmm. You want a battery powered type lantern. And this is just a great little lantern. I mean, they're just cool. They go forever on the more of the low setting, and they're rechargeable if you have a battery backup.
And the nice thing with this one is it's a little more aesthetically pleasing as well.
Yeah.
So if you want something in your apartment that looks nice, this one with the bronzed finish on it is a really nice option to just display.
But there are a lot of different options out there. It's not just these. Yep. So, check those out. And they do make something called the O-bulb. It's this little orb. That thing is awesome. My wife, every time I bring one in, she's like, I want that. She has about 5 or 6, and she loves them because you can just click them on. You can leave them. I mean, they give a lot of different color lights if you want. A lot of cool things. There's a lot of stuff out there, guys.
Prepper 101 asked, do they make a flashlight that stops working at closing time? Sometimes it's best not to see things.
Well, there is this off button. I don't know. You could just, loosen the cap and go, oh, darn, this thing doesn't work.
You just have to time the charge correctly.
Railroad Roamer says, how do you feel about having some chem lights available, or are we just talking about flashlights specifically?
No. Hey, Travis, what's up, man? Yeah, the chem lights are great. And chem lights, you can keep those, in your packs. You can use them. You can break them, keep some light. You can use them for different type purposes. Mm-hmm. So I highly recommend having some chem lights, especially in more of a tactical type situation, or if you're with a group, and you can identify each other. You can take a chem light and hang it on the back of your pack, and you can keep everybody, where you're not running down your batteries with the flashlight.
Well, they make all different sizes too. Everything from the little tiny ones that are about 1 inch long and about the size of a pencil, all the way up to your larger chem lights, which are about 8 inches long and have lanyard loops and everything made onto them.
Right.
So a lot of different sizes and options when it comes to chem lights and what you can do with them.
Yeah, and you take a string, put it on there, and spin it. It looks like a circle. So if you're lost, it's a great way to signal. Yeah, I'm a big fan of chem lights for sure.
NP Outdoor says, what are your thoughts on flashlights with rechargeable batteries versus standard?
Well, this is my thing. Like this little pin light that I carry, the i3R Plus, or it's just the i3 Plus, the i3T Plus. I stick this in my pocket. It uses AAA batteries or AA's, but I think it's AA's. Yeah, and I keep AAA's for it. That way, you know what? If the battery starts to go down, I'll just have a couple of extra AAA's right there to throw in here. But the time that I use flashlights so much that I really like to be able to charge my lights, especially these lights. The batteries last for a long time. I mean, it's not like you go out one night and it's out. I'll take this. Now, I have a little charging station. It's called an Amino. It's a little block, and it has 4 different ports, and I keep lights on there at all times. But this light will retain a charge for a long time. In fact, we have sometimes lights we stick in our safe for different reasons. They'll be sitting there for months. I'll pick it up. It comes right on. Mm-hmm. Oh, just like this light. I mean, this is an old light. I haven't charged this light in a long time, and it just comes on. So I like that. But I do like to have the standard battery backups. So if I have this light with me, I like to have a couple of CR123s tucked away. And that way, if this light goes out and I don't want to wait for it to charge, I throw in the CR123s and I'm going. Same thing with some of these other lights, these little AA lights. I can carry a couple of AA batteries. I can recharge the batteries that are in there. So, it's kind of one of those things, but if you think about it, you're buying those batteries and you're throwing them out, and you're recharging. I change this one out, every couple of weeks, if I'm using it a lot. So it's just nice to be able to have it charged and just go from there. Okay, we'll take one more, and then we're going to get into the next phase.
Okay. Linda Carter asks, "Are these good for to go deer hunting at night?" LOL.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well,
the eye shine really stands out. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna tell you, it's funny. One night I was doing a light review. I don't remember which light I had, and I walked out into our field, and we have woods along the edge. And so I'm doing the flashlight, and I'm looking. I have my camera going even, and I lifted it up, and there were 14 deer standing right inside the woods. And there were all these green orbs just looking at me. And I was like, yeah, because I counted them. And I was like, whoa. I mean, it kind of popped my, it kind of scared me. And they'll sit there and look at you. So, yeah, you can spotlight them, but I'm not telling you to. But
and it's also, an easy way to identify different types of animals. Like you were saying, deer, their eyes glow green. Coyotes and stuff, their eyes glow red.
Right.
So it's easy to identify kind of a grass eater versus a predator just by the eye shine sometimes.
Right. That's a good point. Excellent point. Okay, let's go. We're gonna take some more questions in a second, but let's go into some more uses. Now, I'll just be straight up. If I only could have one light, if it was just I just had one light, we pulled these out of my bug out bag or my get home bag, is the headlamp. Headlamps are the most useful lights out there. Now, you can get different ones. You can get ones that are dedicated, that are attached where you can't pull them off. But see, like some of these lights, you can pull these off. Actually, my favorite is the Perun, the mini Perun, which is from Olight. It's like this with a little crook neck on it. And, I've got my little headband here. So I can take this off and use it if I want. But then if I need hands-free, I can use this. Camping, hiking, of course, in your bug out bag. This to me is a great option. Also, keeping one of these in your car.
Yep. Run out of gas in your car. Have to fill it up on the side of the road in the middle of the night with a paper filter.
Or a flat tire. You can have a flat tire. They make a number of different ones. But I would stick with the ones that are actually removable. They're a little more weighty, but I have some of the others as well. But this one's a little bit more of a dedicated to the headband. I think you can still take this off. So, there are some headlamps to me, when you are changing a flat, you can't hold a light and, work the jack and all that. So this gives you a way to be able to see, reading maps, doing things with your hands where you need both hands. So that headlamp is great. And again, I like to be able to take it on and off. Okay. Then we want to go from headlamps to weapons lights. Woo-hoo. Okay, so there's a number of different types of weapons lights. And one thing I do want to recommend, guys, is especially for home defense, have some kind of light. Now, a lot of guys, and this is an excellent point here. If you have only a weapons light and that's what you're using, and you walk to a room checking out that bump in the night, and then all of a sudden your son's standing there in the light, that also means that pistol's pointed at him. So you don't want to depend totally on that weapons light. I like to have a smaller light in my hand to be able to look around, and unless it's something that's just somebody's busting the door down, if you know that there's something wrong big time, that's a little bit different.
Situationally dependent.
Yeah,
for sure.
But if you're just checking that bump in the night, you don't want to go out there with your pistol and be pointing around. Because you could, and that actually almost happened to me. And I say almost because one night my wife woke me up. She said, "Hey, I just heard the driveway alarm go off." And then we heard something. So I got up. Well, my son got up at the same time, and he was actually coming in to get some water. And he walks around the side, and I'm sitting there with that light and that weapons light, and I've got it down. And I just kind of looked over, and I could see him out of the periphery of the light, out of the spill. And I just went, whoa, I'm so glad I didn't point that. And it really made me a believer that I need to have some kind of side light or tactical light, keep it in your pocket, grab it. And then if you need your weapons light, you've got that on your pistol. But I highly recommend having a weapons light on your firearm, especially for that home defense gun, the one that sits by your bedside or that sits in your safe, one of your little hand safes. One thing I will recommend, and this is actually a little different than just light, is don't lock your gun up in your safe unloaded at night. Have it somewhere where you can get to it if you need to. And that's one thing that's, you know, okay. So there's small little mini lights like this little, this is a Baldor S. And these are fantastic lights. Not only are they lights, this one also has a laser option. And so that's another choice. Do you want to go with laser? Some of these don't have laser, some of them do. And then we have a larger pistol light like this Valkyrie Pro, and it is rechargeable. In fact, you can charge this, both of these. You can charge these while they're on your firearm. Take that little pressure pad switch. It uses a little bit different one. Well, it doesn't for this one. Okay, so you can just charge that as it's on your firearm. You don't have to take it off. But a lot of different type lights. And, of course, we have a Surefire X300. These are fantastic lights as well. They're about double the price, but they're really good lights. But there's a ton of different options with these, especially these small ones. They'll fit almost every, if your gun has a Picatinny rail on it, this will fit it. There may be one or two exceptions, but we tried like 300 different guns with using these lights with this little adjustment. And it actually ratchets back and forth. So this is one of my favorite lights to keep. But the lumens are going to be a little bit higher on these larger lights. Now, some people will say, you know, I don't want to have backwash if you're shining it and you're on a white wall and it's blinding you. But honestly, I want the most light I can get, you know, because really I can see even if it is kind of blinding.
You know, one of the nice things about having the rechargeable capability with this, you clip your magnet on it at night, and if you need it, you don't have to worry about unclipping it, unplugging it, or anything. You just grab your pistol and pick it up, and it automatically disconnects.
Right. That's a good point.
You don't have to worry about tearing anything up or breaking anything. It just unclips and falls off.
Right. And, two, you don't have to worry about picking up your handgun and going click, click. There's nothing there, you know, and you're like, crap, or worse. So that's one thing I do like about these, and it keeps them charged. But I'm going to tell you, these lights have been sitting in a drawer. I keep them for different purposes when I use them. I mean, this one has the green light. You can use just the laser. Listen, don't use just a laser for home defense. You need the light. You need to be able to identify a target. Your target will be, you know, you can really get accuracy with that laser, which makes it nice. But, you know, even with a light, it backlights your sights. So you're going to be able to see your sights with that light in front of you. So there's a number of different type lights. Some lights, really small guns, they actually, and I think Streamlight does a really good job on these. They have the ones that fit to the trigger guard, and you can clamp it on, and, you know, so you can use it with any light. Now, some of you guys, you know, you carry lights for your EDC light. You know, what you carry if you have a concealed carry. A lot of guys are carrying lights now. So, you know, this is really a great option because it's really small, and it puts out a high amount of lumens. I think this one puts out 1,000 lumens, which is pretty impressive.
Well, when you look at the majority of the other weapon-mounted lights for a handgun on the market, and they're between 200 and 600 lumens.
Right.
And that little guy right there almost doubles the most that most other companies put out.
And there's the Baldor R, which is for red, and they have a green laser. I mean, they have a number of different things. But again, there are a number of different weapons lights out there. Surefire makes some great ones as well. And like this one, I don't think I've changed the battery out in this one in a while. And but it has it has the CR123s, and, you know, they may be rechargeable. The problem is I've got to take the batteries out to charge them. It doesn't have a direct charging port. So that's one of the things about these top lights with that charging port on top that I just love. I don't have to worry about it. So handgun lights. Now, these larger ones can be used on a rifle, can be used on a shotgun. In fact, I have a Shockwave 12 gauge that I have one of these on there.
Yep.
So that's good. Okay, now
or even standalone as a handheld.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
It works really well as a handheld as well. It's still got your crenulated bezel on the front. It's easy to operate the little levers on the back with your thumb with it in your hand. So it can be a handheld as well if you don't want to mount it on your weapon at the time.
Right, right. Then we go into rifle lights. Now, one of the things about a rifle light, we have a Surefire here. We have a Olight Odin. This actually uses Surefire mounts, so it'll fit right to your rail, and it gives you a high lumens. I mean, like 2,000 lumens. I think this one is like 1,500, which is a good amount of light. But you want a rifle light on your rifle mainly because you get longer distance. You'll get more pinpoint beam. With these, they're a little bit more of a spill, which this one does pretty good at distance, but this will give you that extended range. So if you're, especially at night, if you're outside, having something like this on a rifle, and it can go on any type rifle. It doesn't have to be just an AR-15. It can be, or AK. It can be a number of different ones, and they make really small ones as well. Of course, you'll lose your lumens, but it's a lighter size. So the weapons lights, there's so many different types. This is a shorter one from Olight. And then also, you have pressure pad switches. And you replace it, you put it on here, and then you attach it to your rail, and then you have, a place where you can pressure pad instead of messing with the toggle up here at the light. So you can put it in a good location. But with rifle lights, again, you can use something like this and like this, or whatever you can find that will mount. There's a ton of mounts out there. There's a ton of aftermarket mounts. And so that way, you can use it for both, especially if funds, you don't want it. But I mean, you can use this for a
handheld as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's not going to be as convenient because you do have part of the mount sticking out there. But, if you're on a budget, you're like, man, I'm putting money into all these different prepping ideas. That I just really can't go with two when I can use one. I would highly recommend the Warrior X. It's high lumens, and you can get in fact, they make them. It's just a ring that goes and hooks onto a Picatinny rail. So that's a great choice as well. Okay, let's see. Now, we're going from weapons lights, pistol lights, and then rifle lights or shotgun. With shotgun, I would probably go more with a pistol type light.
Yeah, the spill is a lot more important with that. Just like with a shotgun, you get more of a spread, shorter distance. The sight that's got a lot more spill of light is going to illuminate a wider, narrower, or shorter distance, which is more conducive of what you'd be using a shotgun for.
Right, exactly. Okay, we got two more. Now, one is, and we kind of pulled these out a minute ago, having some kind of lantern, having some kind of way to light up your place, and you can use these outside. You can set them on a picnic table, have a dinner out there. I mean, there's a lot of cool things that you can do with lanterns. I don't think this was a limited edition.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they're still making these, but this uses just regular batteries. This is a rechargeable lantern, the O lantern. But again, guys, there's a ton of different companies out there putting out really nice lanterns. They have the mini, which is a little smaller, but it still puts out a lot of lumens. I mean, these things are great. I don't know if I've charged. Yeah, there we go. And I mean, it gets really bright. So, I mean, and then it has a little hanger. You can hang it when you're camping. The Coleman lanterns are great. I love the smell. I just, that's just traditional camping. But with these lights, I mean, they go forever. You get a battery backup. You can charge this even on the go. And so having different lanterns.
Yeah, these are great to hang inside your tent at night.
Yeah.
You head into your tent, you just hang this one up, hang it up inside your tent. You can turn it down really low or turn it off, and then you've got it right there handy if you need it in the middle of the night.
Right. You're not searching for a flashlight. You just got it hanging up there. But yeah, there's a lot of uses for these small lanterns, but especially in a power outage, definitely something that, in fact, we've done some different videos about power outages, and the lanterns are great. And two, they keep from having any kind of fire hazard. When I have some of my other lanterns that I use, my hurricane lanterns and things like that, I've got fuel in there, and, and they're smoky, and, it's a little bit more volatile.
Yep.
And if you knock one of those over accidentally, then you have a house fire. So I really like these type lanterns.
It's a lot easier to carry this going to the bathroom than it is a candle.
Yeah, and you just blow it. It blows out right there when you get there. Okay, now the last, and I believe we've covered all the different type lights. But let's see. I have these, and I didn't actually bring these in. These are some of the mid-tier search type lights. Instead of these big ones, these are the Seeker 2, Seeker 3. Seeker 3 is really what I use, but this gives you a lot of light that's out there compared to this that gives you more of a pinpoint beam. And so I just happened to see them sitting there. I have a number of these, and we use these a lot of times for just something really small if we want to look up the driveway or what's going on. Now, we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're not really going to be talking about flashlights, but we are going to be talking about light. The last is your security lights around your house. Again, light is your number one security tool. Having light, a well-lit place is less likely to be targeted.
That's right.
So we have the walk lights that are they're actually solar powered lights. They sit around, you can have standard, lights that are fixed lights that you just keep. Sometimes people have spotlights that shine up on their house. But all that lighting just deters your typical criminal. Now, I'm not saying that, there are things that can happen,
Yep.
but so having that kind of light around your house, and then having motion lights.
I'm a big proponent of motion lights. We've got them everywhere around our house, around the shop. They're that in conjunction with the camera. You trip the motion light comes on, that trips the camera turns on, and the camera, it gives you a lot better view with the camera at night once the motion lights came on, and you've got that backlit light, and then the camera in front of it. You can really see a long way with the camera, and pick up a lot more detail.
Right, that's right. Because we have when my ring goes off with the camera, if in front of my shop, it has a motion light, but I've got a canopy over the front, so it doesn't always pick out from distance.
Yep.
But when that camera comes on, if the light's on, you can really see.
That's right.
And
you get a lot more distance with your cameras when they're using an external light source versus using the internal IR camera. So it goes, the IR cameras are maybe 30 feet. If it's really dark outside, maybe a little less than that. When you get that backlit light with some good white light, you can see out hundreds of feet with your cameras.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, one thing we have is when you come down our driveway, I have a motion sensor. So anytime somebody comes in the drive, we have a chime that goes off. The dogs know it. They know exactly. In fact, it'll go off in our laundry room, and the dogs will run up to the window because they know where it's coming. But one thing that I had a problem with is it would come on, and then I would come, especially at night. Sometimes deer would set it off. Sometimes my dumb cat would set it off. So I would walk up to the window, and if I shine the light, the glass on the window would kind of backlight it. So I'd have to put it right up to it. And it was really a pain in the rear end. Then I got my night vision out. I got my PVS 14s out, and I put those on. And man, you can see really well. But what I ended up doing is taking a motion sensor light that is solar powered, put it next to my driveway alarm. So when the driveway alarm's tripped, then all of a sudden the motion lights come on. And so it's like, and it's bright. I mean, it's like, and so we have this really bright light. And so now when the motion sensor goes off and I go look and the light hadn't tripped, I know that it's something small that just happened to trip that. But if that light goes off, typically it's because something big has walked by there. And if you've got a lot of deer, maybe a little inconvenient because this woke me up a few nights. But then I ended up, my cat would get on the motion sensor and would walk over it because it's on a fence, and he'd get to it and he'd walk over it and he would trip that thing. So I built a little wire cage around it, and it hadn't happened since. I was ready to kill that cat. I'm telling you, 3 a.m. But having motion lights, and two, you can have your power company come out and put out a light pole. And now they're using LEDs.
They are incredibly bright.
Yeah, so that's also definitely a good choice. So while that's not flashlights, that's still part of your security setup.
We just had one of our lights changed out by the power company, and it was we had one of the old incandescent bulbs that was probably 35 years old. It would light up basically a 4-foot area around the pole.
Right.
And that was it. And they came out and replaced it with the new LEDs. Goodness gracious. It looks like car headlights shining down in your backyard now. It's incredibly bright.
Okay, so let's go to some questions. We have a few minutes. We want to hit some things if you guys have some questions.
Okay, Chrissy Grigg asked, I am new to prepping. I've never been in that situation, so I'm confused about how long I should prep for. I am from Australia.
Wow. Well, it's up to the individual. It's according to what you see, because the thing is you need a motivation. Most people, it's just like we'll prep for like a hurricane or some kind of storm or power outage.
Typical natural disasters.
Right.
Yep.
The things that just happen, things that typically happen about once a year or so, having some water, some food put back or whatever, if you get stuck at your home. If you're looking at signs about what's going on, I mean, let's just face it. Here in the U.S., we've got major inflation. We've got distribution problems. So we're going to have a lot of scarcity. I mean, Biden just said we're going to have food shortages. I mean, that's something that kind of is scary.
Yeah.
But the big thing is to make sure that you have a way to get water and that you have food and that of course, in Australia, your temperatures are probably not like as cold as they are, according to where you live. But, you need to have some source of heat. And of course, obviously, again, in Australia, the self-defense laws are sketchy at best. So here, we make sure that we can defend our property if we need to. But, those are the big things, is keeping your body warm, having food, and having water. And then, moving into, well, I need light. Or maybe the emergency services are out, so I need some basic medical things, and that could mean, Advil, Imodium, but it also could be like trauma kits. Mm-hmm. So, it's just according to where you want to go. I mean, for me personally, it was a big deal for me to get a year's supply of food. And that was just what my motivation was. That doesn't mean that your motivation may be, you know what, I just want to have, like for COVID, when COVID hit, and you guys have been through hell and high water with COVID. But for us, we had a shutdown for a while. We didn't have to really do anything. We had toilet paper put back already. We had certain supplies. So, it's just where you feel comfortable with. But just watch, what's going on in the world. Of course, now with this thing with Russia, and who knows what that could turn into. But, there's no reason here. This is the thing. Everything that you do toward prepping puts you in a better position than you were before you started. Every time you do something, you're just in a better position. Who knows what the future holds? No one. So just be sensible about it. Don't go out and, max out your credit card, but just buy some things and put them back and go, you know what? If things go south, my pantry's full, got a few things here. I know how I can get water. I've got some medical stuff if something happens, and then you can move from there.
Zombie Slime 2000 asks, do you like the Through Night BSS V4?
I do like Through Night. I have a few Through Nights, and they're good quality lights as far as, for all what we've done with them. So, yes, like Through Night. The WowTech, I think it is. They're part of Through Night as well. And then, of course, you have your Phoenix. You have there's so many. Claris is one of my favorites. I really like Claris lights. There's a ton of different lights out there. So, to me, it's funny. I just gravitate towards certain lights that I like. The zebra lights, I like those. Again, of course, Surefire. The one thing about Surefire, I like them and they're good, but they're just expensive. So you have to decide, do you want to put the money into that? And, that's your biggest choice.
All right, Charles Lesky asks, should you always go with the most powerful flashlight? I ask this because it seems like the stronger the flashlight, the quicker the battery just goes down.
It's true. That's true. Like something like this big light, it has some really solid batteries in it. So this is going to keep a charge for a long time. You can even charge your phone on this. You can, plug in your phone into an inverter. So lights like this, they're heavy. They put out a massive amount of lumens. We're talking about 6,000 lumens. So I wouldn't carry this for my EDC.
But it's also not something you're going to be using for an hour at a time either. You have to weigh out what the use is going to be for it. For most people, your small lights like this that you're going to use all the time, that's going to be a light that you want to have really good battery life that gives you enough light to be able to do what you're doing. But it's just about using the right light for the right situation. And trying to balance that to where you have enough light to be able to do what you need to do without going overboard and having too much light to where you're sucking all your batteries or you're blinding everything around you where you can't see what you're doing.
Right. This one puts out about 1,500 lumens in turbo. I don't use turbo that often.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is I have a setting because it has a memory on it. In fact, I think I've got this one. Okay, there we go. This one, if you just press and hold, it goes to the moonlight setting. It's like a lumen. And then I press and hold, it goes up to like 5 lumens. I press and hold, it just continues to go up. What I do is I'll keep it on a lower setting, and that way I can just see what I need to see. And that's what I typically use. To put it on turbo, look at that. That will drain your battery fast. But the great thing is, because of that rear tail switch, dude, if I need it, I can go straight to turbo with that. Mm-hmm. But typically, I can use my side switch just to look at different things.
Yeah. And turbo is going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds maybe.
Yeah.
And then you're back to a normal light again.
Well, it's like one night we're down there, I had the dogs, or I had our pug. We have a pug. He's a trip. But so, he's walking. All of a sudden I heard something right there in the woods. Well, I don't get out there and turn my little I get the turbo on and I go boom, and I'm looking, there's a deer standing there. But then I turn it off.
Yep.
It doesn't have to stay on. So you can conserve your battery life if you have multiple mode settings.
Bob Jones asks, what do police seem to like the most for everyday tactical carry?
A lot of police, especially with departments, they pick up the Surefires because they've just been proven. It's just one of those legendary lights.
Yeah. Surefires and Stream Lights are generally the two that law enforcement go with.
But there are a number of agencies, especially if they're on more of a budget, that do use the O-Lights. In fact, I have a lot of police officers that have contacted me over the years, and they say they love their O-Lights. They use them.
And if it's something that the officer is buying out on their own dime, it's generally going to be the O-Light because it gives great performance and great reliability at a lower cost.
Right.
Spock910 asks, you should look into Phoenix Lights, see what you think about them. My carry is a PD25, great little lantern too.
Yeah, Phoenix puts out some really great lights for sure. And my big thing is, I try to get some different lights at different times, and I have a number of different lights. It's more like style. In fact, I think I have a Phoenix LD35, and it has these copper little accents on it. They're very minimal, and I just like that light. I like it, and I do carry it for EDC at times. So, it's really a lot of it has to do with just this is what I like. And but yeah, Phoenix makes some good lights. I know Nothing Fancy for a long time was big on Phoenix. He's big on O-Light now because they're just such great performers, but not necessarily any better, just different.
DM asks, what about LEP, laser excited phosphor, flashlights for long range throw? They seem unbeatable.
They are fantastic. They are, in fact, I have a couple of O-Lights that have that. It's some of their technology they're working on. But I have had some of the lights, and they'll put out this square. It's really cool. And the intensity, the detail for those lights are phenomenal. So I'm sure we'll be seeing more and more of that. Typically, they have kind of a little bit of an off color sometimes. But yes, those are cool lights. And when you shine, in fact, I've done a couple of reviews on some of those. And getting it out to distance, it's just absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, for a rifle-mounted light.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, the detail is phenomenal. So yes.
Marilyn Brower asks, is there a flashlight lantern combination light?
Well, you can, let's say emergency radio. A lot of these emergency radios, they have a light built in, and you just turn it on and you can use it. It even has a SOS feature on it. There's a lot of things out there, even a lot of battery backups. They'll have a light you can click and a light will come on. So, there's a lot of options. I don't necessarily know of I'm sure they do. I'm sure that they make something. There is something that I'm just thinking about that. O-Light makes this thing. It's the, what is that? That swivel. And it actually, it can be flat, and then it has this base, and you can actually go to 360 degrees. You can actually hang it. It has a nice broad light. You can set it down. It'll be kind of like a lantern. It just kind of broadens out. On the other side, it has a flashlight. So you can click it and go into that mode, and then you got a flashlight. So it's not that, but I'm sure that there are lanterns that can be used that have flashlight capabilities.
GBO9 Mitt asks, what range should you zero your laser for your bedside gun?
Well, if it's a bedside gun, 25 yards would be max. But I would probably go more with like 10 yards. What would you do?
It kind of depends on where the laser is in relation to the bore of the pistol, because you're going to have a crossing point at some point, whether it's at 2 feet, 10 feet, 10 yards, 25 yards. And that crossing point is your laser is going to be below your bore. So it's going to be constantly aiming up, right? So if it's aiming up and you set your crossing point at 50 yards, that means the laser comes out longer, straighter before the crossing point is the impact point of the bullet. So you just have to figure out where you want that crossing point to be, if you want it to be closer or you want it to be further. And know that you're going to have an offset if you have to make a precision shot with it, with that laser, that you're going to have an offset from your bore to the actual point where the laser is. That can be an inch and a half difference. So you have to be able to know what that distance is. So if somebody's closer or further, you can compensate by aiming either higher or lower with your laser to be able to hit where you want to hit.
Yeah, one simple thing. I have a target set up in my shop, and it's only about 5 yards. And when I sight my laser in on that, and then I go outside and I set something out at about 10 yards, it changes the impact.
Right.
So I like to kind of put it out to about 10 yards for a handgun. With a rifle, it's definitely more important, and you've really got to that. There's a lot that has to go into setting that just right, like Robbie said, especially since it's ever on the side.
Yeah, the side ones are even worse. I always I like to keep my laser at 6 o'clock below the bore. And even when I mount a laser on my rifle, I either mount it at 6 o'clock or I mount it at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
And that way I'm always in line with the bore. So that way I'm not having to really compensate for windage left or right. I'm just having to compensate for elevation up and down.
Right. Okay. Well, we are at 1 o'clock. Man, thanks for all the great questions.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go over and I'll set up everything. I'll set some of the lights that we talked about. If you want to check those out, and don't forget, you do get a 10% off using Sootch 00 on the Olight website. There is a link if you want to go straight to it. Tons of different lights. We also appreciate Sportsman's Guide, and Sportsman's Guide has a ton of lights. I mean, there's a lot of different type lights there. $20 off every $100 or more purchase. We really appreciate them sponsoring today's episode.
And that's using coupon code Sootch.
Yeah.
No 00.
Right. And the Buyers Club's great. It does give you better savings. Plus, it gives you free shipping. But yeah, the light is your number one security tool, guys. You need to make sure you have your light covered. It's a very important thing. A lot of times, either people are into it or they're not into it. And I really recommend getting into it just a little bit, making sure that you have your capabilities. But yeah, we really appreciate Robbie for being here. Again, we have his link down below of his YouTube channel. Check it out at Wheaton Arms or Robbie Wheaton. You can look it up either way. And also WheatonArms.com website and custom gun work. And we appreciate Sarah Mack for answering the questions and keeping us in line. So be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic.